Hi, my name is Gabriel Garcia. I write historical fiction, fantasy, and sci-fi. And one of my most popular stories is Michael, Last Angel of Earth, which reimagines this figure, Michael, the Archangel of War, who commits the greatest tragedy. He slaughters the innocent, and as a result, the other angels and the heavenly council strip him of his power. He is banished to Earth, and he lives with an isolated community in Ireland for the next 10 years. And suddenly, something draws him back into the fight. Something pushes him to reclaim his heavenly name, and he goes on this amazing quest with a band of heroes from demigods, monsters, men. It's an epic story, and it is the beginning of a 6-book series, one that I'm very proud to continue.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Since this is a fantasy panel, specifically, I thought we might start off with sort of a softball, a little.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And fantasy, in my opinion, is like the best way to write stories. You're able to play around with so many different things, whether it's mythological figures, demigods, reinvent them in so many ways, or update them for a new audience. It's just, the possibilities are endless, and that's one of the many reasons why I love writing in fantasy, because you do have that creative freedom to really explore and push boundaries and just tell great, amazing stories.
Awesome.
I think for me, and I'm going to use an example from Michael, is armor making. And there's one character in particular that I had to do a lot of research on, and that is, of course, Hannibal, who is half angel, half wood elf. Now, we've all read a lot of books on wood elves, Lord of the Rings, of course, games like World of Warcraft, and they depicted elves and how they dress, and I'm thinking of, okay, how do I make sure that these elves are not the same as others? And I made the decision, they're going to be wearing wood. That's when it hit me. What wood is actually going to be used for armor? And I had to research real life cultures of like, okay, what wood did they use? How did they shape it? How did they craft it? And I was just blown away by the armor that my wood elves wear. It's just so amazing and so funny. And now I have like books of armor making, swords, and everything that I'm going to be using for my other books in the Michael series.
So similar.
I have a little bit more leeway with Michael because it does have a lot of fantasy elements, but it's set in Earth in the present day. So the main character, Michael, does interact with, everyday people, and he picks up modern lingo, modern jargon. So there is some leeway, but even with that in mind, I have to think of, okay, if he's an angel, how is he actually going to talk? How is he going to speak to others? Same thing, of course, with the languages, also the names of fantasy characters. It's this fine balance of, you don't want to make it too fantasy that's going to throw people up, but you don't want to make it too generic and stereotypical. It's this fine line that it's original, but it's familiar to either the type of character or the group that that character belongs to.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about world building. We're going to delving into that.
Definitely say that my routine has definitely changed over the years. I actually began writing my books back during the height of the lockdown of COVID, and definitely I was very focused, centered on getting all of my books finished, at least a rough draft version. So I literally wrote on my calendar 45 minutes of writing a day. I do not recommend that for any writers or poets in the audience. That's not manageable. You will definitely burn yourself out. But despite that, I was able to finish it, and now I find myself writing more late in the evening, more of a night owl. kind of 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes a day or so if I'm feeling it, which is a lot more manageable than before. Ultimately, it just depends on what you're feeling and what works best for you. I know we've all heard stories of, writing every day as much as you can, but while that may work for some people, it may not work for all of us. That could lead to a lot of burnout, stress, and ultimately the drive to even write at all. It may not be fun anymore, it'll just be work. And writing should be fun. That's why we do it. That's why we authors love telling stories, that it's fun. We want it to be that. Social media, I only have just Instagram, but I think we can all agree that it's never been more easier to publish something in today's market, but it's never been more difficult to market ourselves, especially as indie authors. It is a nightmare because we don't have a plan of how we market ourselves. We don't have, a schedule or a business plan of how many posts we have to make, how many very trendy or clicky advertising things we have to do. We're not that. Sometimes we have to pay people to do that. And it is a struggle. It is a hustle. But I will say this on Instagram for Bookstagram, there are those communities that you can be a part of that do that for you. And I will say this, I am a part of a lot of Bookstagram groups, and the positivity and the encouragement has been very helpful. In fact, for one of my most recent books, which is coming out this December, I've gotten more engagement on that than my previous works because I did not know what I was doing. A lot of people were more interested, they were more engaged, people were spreading the word, and that was really, really good. So social media in itself, used for the industry, is a double-edged sword. It can be very helpful, but it can also be very emotionally draining, and sometimes you just need to take a step back and just detox from social media.
And I will say, if you are looking to get on
Helpful to also have an editor on standby, someone who can look at the book with a different perspective, who can see things that we may not see. And I think for us as authors, when we get to that stage, the editing stage, there is that hesitancy of how much do we have to cut? How much do we have to get rid of? Because we may enjoy this, we may enjoy a scene, we may enjoy a character or a plot element, but if it doesn't make sense, we have to remove it. And I remember when I was talking with my editor, Laurie Ball, who's based in the UK, she's very detailed, and she did not hold back on, okay, you need to get rid of this. This doesn't make any sense. You've used this, you gotta change it up. She is very harsh, very critical, but that's what I love about her and what I love about others, because they are able to see things that we as authors may not see, only because we're probably dazed and confused if we've been staring in front of our computers for hours and hours, and our eyes are just twitching and we can't blink. So it is a struggle of the edits and maintaining the vision and the authenticity, but that all comes with the territory, and we only get better as time goes on with every new book that we write and publish. And I also want to point out that if researching is all you do for that 45 minutes, that's completely fine. No matter what you do in terms of writing, whether it's jotting down notes of characters, writing their backstory, plotting out the world, whatever you do for the writing, the behind the scenes, that is completely fine. We tend to get this put down our throats that you have to be writing, you have to be doing all of this, and the pre-writing stuff, the researching has to be done beforehand, but that may happen in the process of writing, and that is completely fine. Everyone writes at their own pace, everyone research at their own pace. I know definitely for me, when I was working on Michael, I definitely had to do a lot of research going back to the armors of the characters. I did not want them to look, stereotypical as we see angels in other media, and that was completely fine. And I remember I done like half and half, like maybe 15 minutes of writing, 30 minutes of edits, and that is completely fine. However you do it, however you go about it, that is your decision. There